There is something very important that I think I need to say at the beginning of this video, and that is for you to use your head and really think about what is going on here, what is going on with the market right now, what is going on with your everyday life, and what is going on with, you would say, the economy, because those are three completely different things. The economy is not the stock market. The stock market is not the economy. And the economy is not how each everyday person is doing. And something that you can take into consideration with that is something that we actually probably should pull up, and that is the interview that Bill Clinton was doing when he was coming out and trying to promote Kamala Harris. He admitted to the illegal immigration policies being terrible and illegal immigration being a very bad thing. And how if they were properly vetted, then these type of events like murder of individuals, of 3 women before the bill actually came out for that Kamala likes to talk about happened, he actually states something in that about the economy. And he says, well, we need that cheap labor to continue the economy going. The economy going higher is good for rich people. And they want to use cheap labor to do it. They do not want to give jobs to Americans to do it. That is what that statement means. And I just saw that and I'm like, we need to talk about that. The other thing is the stock market. 90% of the stock market is owned by the 10% richest people in America. So the stock market going higher does not benefit individual Americans. The stock market going higher benefits the rich. Now, how is the average person doing? Well, everyone is still complaining about the grocery store. Everyone is still complaining about energy prices, oil prices, all those kinds of things. So none of these things are equaling up. And what it's actually equaling up to is when the stock market is hitting all-time highs, you are suffering almost the most. So something that might end up happening in the market is we might go into a recession, as President Trump is pretty set to win this thing. And Kamala is stating that economists are saying that the economy will suffer and the stock market will suffer if Donald Trump gets in. And this has nothing to do with politics. We're talking about the stock market, guys. And notice that they say that is a bad thing. That is a bad thing for rich people. It's a good thing for us, weirdly enough. It is a good thing because recession causes deflation, and deflation is the thing that you need to experience in order for things to get cheaper around you. If we do not have some kind of recession, if we do not have some kind of deflationary period where things do go down, then the prices at the grocery store will not go down. They will continue to go up. And that is what a lot of these big elite type people want. And I think it's very important to understand that as we look at the market today and as Trump continues to gain some ground here, because as that recession might come a little bit closer, things might start to unravel. Now, the chart that I have in front of you right here is the dollar, DXY. And I originally was just going to open up the video and talk about the fact that, hey, is this the stock market right now? Is this the thing? Is this hitting all-time highs right now or something? What is this? This is the dollar with that news this morning. I think it might too, Dave. But this is the dollar. As it's going higher, everyone out there, all the media, I could probably pull up the business channels and all those, the mainstream stuff, and they're going to tell you stocks are going higher and that's a great thing. That's what they're probably going to tell you today. Get in before you can't. Get in before you miss out. Get in before you miss out. But I'm just going to tell you guys, this means that insiders are selling at an unprecedented rate that we haven't seen in a very, 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 very long time, if not ever. You're getting a weekly cross up for the dollar, which is going to complete tomorrow unless you see some kind of dramatic thing, but most likely that's completing. This is a flight to safety. Cash is the safety asset. We use everything for cash. We trade everything for cash. We trade stocks for cash. You buy groceries with cash. You sell things to other people to then gain cash because you like cash. Why is cash going up at an unprecedented rate while we actually notice that the SPY is going up as well? If you think I'm sad about my positions or anything like that, you're hilarious. Don't care. Don't care. What are we doing as of this morning? Well, we're seeing this go to a higher level while the dollar screams higher with that data we got this morning. We actually saw the initial jobless claims. They're sneaky about it. They don't put an R by it, but that got adjusted up a little bit. And we're noticing that retail sales is doing well. So these companies are still doing well while you're still struggling to buy groceries. And if you think my positions are really suffering that bad, we said last night's video that we have the potential to make that new all-time high. We have the potential to test the high, go make a new one. But maybe you need to watch that video to figure out what we were talking about next, which is the fact that we did not have a short time frame divergence here to tell us that there is weakness on the shortest level. We have it on pretty much all the other time frames. We need it on the shortest one now. If you need those daily expected moves, well, you're at one right now. 585.91 to the upside, 578.69 to the downside. The options market, that's what they're pricing in for the day. That's what they're pricing in for the day. I'd be very, very cautious with this type of behavior, but it does mean one thing, guys. This doesn't mean that it can't go higher. It can go higher because we're starting to confirm some stuff, and today is going to be a very, very important day for volatility. Because what did we say would happen if volatility turned down on the daily scale? You're in a moment of time where, yes, things are on edge. You could see a crash, but in the opposite direction. Hey, congratulations, Pomeranian. Congratulations. But you're also in a time where they can pump stocks higher. They still can. So today is going to be one of the most important days in the market, and it's going to be this. Is this VIX going to be showing that red bar by the end of the day on the histogram? That is what is going to really matter going forward. That is kind of stating that, hey, we actually can see some kind of short squeeze. And you're already probably getting squeezed at this moment if you pay attention to this, right? We see that throughout this whole run. We've kind of seen volatility remain higher, but at this point we could say now this is the real signal that they can make this more of a squeeze going forward, maybe a test of the 200 for volatility with a crash signal still flashing. And if you think things are just fine and dandy and we're just going to go up for another year, I think that going up from here for another 12 months is pretty much impossible at this point. But you do have bear market behavior while we're hitting all-time highs, which is something that is unprecedented, something that you do not see almost ever. So it tells me I have to be very cautious. We have to pay attention to the signals. We will be looking at stocks going forward. Thankfully, we're paying attention to how we can get screwed. That was a big topic 2 days ago as we did see that selling come in. We always want to take that into consideration. So nobody should be too beat up by this stuff, right? Because we're always reacting. We're always flip-flopping. But for now, we just want to pay attention to today and see if this is going to be able to create some kind of divergence at these levels, or if volatility is just able to turn down on a daily scale. I think those are the two things that are very, very important. And yes, following the trend is a very good idea, right? Because we came down to a key level, we tried to make some kind of handle. We said, watch, because if this turns up on the 30-minute, well, you're still in positive territory. You're right, the positive trend is there. You're right, the positive trend is there. So you are correct in saying follow that trend, and that's exactly what you're doing. It's very hard to short the top. That's why we're looking for bigger time frame momentum. You really want to see the bigger time frame where this thing says, hey, we're heading down. It's when this weekly crosses. Can you, as a trader, be patient enough to see a weekly cross down and then start to make decisions? That's kind of what it takes. You want that momentum to say, yes, we are going down. Then you're going to see little bounces and things like that, but once this weekly crosses, it's going to be bad news for the market. And if the monthly crosses, it's going to be awful. Congratulations on the TSM calls. TSM, very interesting. Going to the upside, a lot of people calling the double top, but we always like to say, yeah, that's a look that we're paying attention to, and it still can fall, right? But also, you have to take into consideration, this is earnings. Earnings time is something to pay attention to because technicals can kind of go out the window and they can just announce one good thing. They could announce 10 bad things and one good thing, and the stock goes up. So it looks like the stock is heading up from here. Never curled down on the daily MACD. That is one thing to take into consideration. And on this channel, we do say all of the time, earnings is some funky business. So be very cautious with taking big plays around earnings, but congratulations. Congratulations on that. That's awesome. A lot of puts on earnings. Ooh, be careful, guys. Be careful, guys. Earnings is a big deal. And really pay attention if volatility does turn down today, right? But we can see we're heading up towards a weekly expected move. We're actually maybe going to get a test of a weekly expected move this week, and that's fantastic. So let's just get you the other daily expected moves. I think we already shouted out the ones for the SPY. Let's go over to the Q, so we do notice we're already outside of that. 495.30 to the upside. We do have 486.52. Remember, this one a little bit more difficult to go make that new high, but we can, with volatility crossing over on the daily scale, see something crazy, okay? So pay attention to that. We are above it for the Qs. We are at it for the SPY right now. So this is where resistance can come in. Remember, we don't only pay attention to when the SPY hits this, but we pay attention to if one of them gets past their level, has the other one hit it. So the SPY is going to open up right at it, and then the Qs are actually past it. So that's when you'd want to pay attention and say, well, if the SPY's right here, then the Qs, wherever it's at, can see resistance. And you're noticing that we were talking about this little block in here. This is that first breakdown area. Volume getting lower and lower, getting higher and higher, and you have the fact that, oh, that's true too. Yeah, you do have some QE. But for the most part, we just want to take into consideration that if this is such a good thing, then why are people running to the dollar so fast? Okay, they've been running to the dollar for weeks now as we've headed higher. This will end badly. They can keep it going up for a long time. If they wanted to blow this thing off to the very, very top of everything, get this thing up to 600, it's still possible, right? If the Qs get above that high, I think we just pull back and maybe we do see more upside after that into the end of the year. But for now, we're not to that level yet, so we want to talk about what's happening right now. Right now, we're hitting a daily expected move very early on in the day. We do see the dollar climbing while the market climbs higher. We do see volatility that says, hey, I am at a point where I need to turn around, or else we could see some kind of squeeze, which you're already seeing kind of squeeze-like behavior at this point. So those are all things to pay attention to, but I think this is going to end up in one of the most massive rug pulls that you've ever seen. This is probably the biggest maybe opportunity that's going to form in your lifetime. And I think one way to look at this is just look at this from a perspective, even if you're bullish, look at this from this perspective here. You know, when you really zoom out on things, do you really want to get into something when it's like this? Or would you rather have gotten in over at these levels, right? When this thing crossed up, right here. That was the time to really say, yeah, this is going higher for 12 months. Now you're at a point where you're going, okay, this is starting to hit a key level maybe. Is this going to drop down? Here's what I think will happen. I think we're going to drop down to 39,000 pretty quick. I think we're going to head to somewhere around 40 to 39,000 pretty damn quick. That's what I think is going to happen. We'll see if it's proven in the charts. That's the important part. But it is important to understand the market is not the economy is not the market, and the market is not how each individual, how the average American is doing right now, and the economy is actually not how the individual American is doing right now, and that's important to understand. We're going to just pay attention to the signals today. Thank you so much for joining. Smash that like button, and even if you disagree, that's fantastic. I think that's perfectly fine. You do what you do. Exactly, yeah, you do your thing, exactly. And you can just take this as almost like seeing the other side, right? If you don't agree with this take, that's perfectly fine, right? We encourage people to come in and tell us the things that they're paying attention to. So we never want to hate on people in the chat that are saying something that you disagree with, right? Don't get into battles in the chat. Just take into consideration what someone is saying, try to learn from it, see if maybe you're not seeing something the same way, see if something isn't adding up. That's what we're going to do, right? I'm going to do the same exact thing. Right now, I see big reversal signals on big, massive time frames like the weekly and the monthly and the daily, but those have not completed yet. So what does that mean in the shorter time frames? Well, that means we can go higher. And if those don't complete, then we go higher, right? It is not impossible for this market to crash. It is not impossible. August better than 0.03 down. Forecast, initial unemployment claim filings, total seasonality adjustment for 241,000, a decline from 19K, other than estimate 260. Yeah, so now we're opening up. This will be a lot of fun today. Let's just pay attention. Early on, we just want to see if divergence is forming, if divergence is completing. So at this point, you do have divergence forming very early on in the day. It would be interesting to not go to the weekly expected move since we're so close, by the way. So just pay attention because, yeah, there might be some profit taking right away. You're at an expected move. So this is kind of like a mental thing too. If you're someone who's trading options and you see something like this and you see a bunch of green in your account, you're probably going to think about taking profit. And this is that level where that mental game can start. But this is also the level that the market makers are paying attention to, and we're seeing how people get leveraged at this point. So that's something to pay attention to. But for the most part, you would say if it's only expected to get here, this is the main resistance we want to pay attention to. If we get past that, we can go up to a weekly, and we're very close to that. We're very, very close to that. Why is Tesla collapsing? Well, Tesla is collapsing mainly because of that event. People didn't like it, I guess. I think it might be collapsing because people don't like Elon Musk's political views. That's what I think. People don't want him. Big people don't want little people investing in their stock, maybe. But for the most part, maybe it's institutional people not agreeing with it getting out of the company, or they saw something that was more valuable to them, maybe with NVIDIA with that upward push or something. You don't really want to read into that too much. We just want to see the signals. And the signals here say, hey, drops down, moving sideways, bouncing with time, curls over on a MACD. Well, then more downside is likely. We are not in our buy zone yet, so I'm still leaning towards a move like that one. GME, you'll notice, turned up on the daily scale. Watch out if GME starts to turn down on a 30-minute. That's telling you 30-minute pullback. And if it turns down a little too much, that 2-hour can turn down, and that might need to pull back a little bit deeper down into make some kind of divergence before we get another signal like this. As of right now, the daily scale was turned up. Let's see if that thing's turned down this morning. Most likely you will need a little bit more selling than this to turn it down. Load, load, load. Come on. Come on. All right, cool. Awesome. So we're loading that up. Notice that it's still crossed. If that uncrosses, that's when you want to pay attention. One thing, NVIDIA busting up, right? Busting to the upside. Very, very nice there. We'll see if this creates that divergence point, right? If this is able to roll over today. Once again, today, if we don't roll over, we can continue to squeeze, okay? So let's just pay attention to if we're actually seeing things roll over and confirm these big divergences. But at the same time, if they confirm these ones, we still need those bigger time frames to confirm before we can start to really say, this looks like a bigger moment to pay attention for downside, okay? As we look forward, we can see that overall something interesting I was paying attention to was the fact that we were calling out Bitcoin for having this little 2-hour divergence up here. Little 2-hour divergence, very wonky behavior, and look at that starting to teeter over. Doesn't mean that Bitcoin's done by any means. This is overall a 2-hour pullback right now. You are still very, very positive, so if that does turn up, expect some positivity for Bitcoin going forward. 4-hour was able to curl down. I think I looked at that. Yeah, curled down. So now you might be in more of a 4-hour pullback, but you notice you want to pay attention to that too, because if you go and make some kind of double top or something like that, you want to be looking for signals like that. This can still remain bullish. Someone in the chat obviously saying, trade the trend, and that's actually a very, very good thing to say. Lucid, you think Lucid's a buy? I actually used to really like this stock. This was back when I was investing in things way back in the past. But for the most part, Lucid confirming some big things here, and that would be daily divergence at the high, rejection here for the lower high, and boom to the downside. So this is something to pay attention to. You can see I was kind of charting things in the past, but for the most part, look at the divergence. Very, very obvious play. Let's see it. And then that likes to roll over weekly charts. So that weekly is starting to roll over just now, right? That takes a lot of time for those to play out. A lot of the time you'll see triple divergence on the daily before these things actually roll over on a weekly. But you have Lucid rolling down on a weekly chart, and that is something to pay very close attention to, because that is not a good look on the weekly scale if that completes in a day and 7 hours. All right. Let's go back over. I think one thing to pay attention to today is the fact that we need to see if these divergences are going to complete today, and that's going to be very, very important. Notice volatility dropping down to lower levels, extremely low, extremely low. So it's going to be difficult for volatility to get into a positive trend. It's going to be very difficult for volatility to get into a positive trend on a 30-minute. That's why that daily is crossing over. Watch if volatility just spikes out of nowhere, because we don't have divergences here. More likely scenario, as we are behaving like a bear market with volatility, is that we get some kind of reaction. We dip down one more time, and then we see an actual reversal signal here, kind of like we did here with the rejection divergence, all right? Just pay attention. It doesn't mean we can't keep going up, right? We want to, like we said, pay attention to the trend. Ion Q, I'll look at this because this is one my dad really talked to me about. This one here does have 30-minute on the RSI. Everything's loading super slow. Let me see if I can fix something there. Okay. You do have divergence on the RSI, not on the MACD at the same time. So that just tells me this could just be a pullback and then we see another upward push, right? When you don't see them at the same time, I like them to be at the same time for a good reversal opportunity. Not really noticing that right now, just seeing that on the RSI. So what you're looking for here is you kind of want this to cross. You want it to maybe test in something around $11.05, $11, and see if that can curl up one more time and then fail. That would be more your reversal signal. But if it doesn't create the reversal signal, then follow the trend, right? I think that's a good thing that someone said in the chat today. It's like overall, you want to follow the trend. And then once that trend turns into a negative one, you want to follow the trend. Yeah, one thing with Lucid is weekly divergence and things like that. I really want to see if it can base out at some point, but it could take a lot of time. That's why I didn't really mention it. It just takes a lot of time. Who had a question about the course last night? Oh, NF had a question about ranges. It was a good question. Just stating, how do you make a range for the daily? And all you need to do with the thing that we teach how to make the range over on in the course down in the description, the technical analysis course, the using technical indicators course, where we discuss these weekly ranges, how to trade around them, how to understand the indicators around them. Well, what you want to do is anything with an expiration date, you can make a range for. If you wanted to make a 3-day range randomly, you can do that. If you wanted to make a daily range, you can do that as long as you have an expiration for it. That's why we are able to make an expiration or a range for the daily for the SPY. It's because they have options expiring every single day, just so you are aware. Well, and the big hint to why a crash could easily be seen coming soon is the fact that there is some major flight to cash for some reason. And I don't think we've really heard what that reason is, right? I think we've maybe seen some October surprise in politics, but we haven't necessarily seen the October surprise for the market. And I think that we still have potential to see that before the month is over. So that's something I'm paying attention to, but dollar going extremely higher for weeks now while the market is going higher for weeks. Like we stated when we first started pointing out rigged behavior, these traps can take place on a 30-minute, they can take place on a 2-hour, they can take place on a daily, they can take place on a weekly, and you are officially in a weekly trap at this point. It is very, very huge, and I think that as volatility, like someone, Greg just said, saying it in the chat right before I say it, I just noticed, the fact that we're behaving like we're in a bear market before we're even in one, according to volatility, that's what we want to pay attention to, because that means we have a higher likelihood to go into a bear market. But I think the first move down might be a big one. Doesn't mean take a trade with it, right? It means we're about to see volatility maybe skyrocket for a minute. That's what I think is going to happen. I could be wrong, perfectly fine. We follow the signals, right? We trade the trend. Is NVIDIA pulling back or flushing down? Well, it just depends. It really depends. If we complete this 30-minute, if this 30-minute does turn down from here, notice that where did NVIDIA go? Well, NVIDIA went to about 140. And if you're a part of the Patreon, you can just pull up those weekly ranges, right? I got to get them up on mine for now. And you do have a little bit higher that NVIDIA could go for the week. You have a little bit higher than 140 that you could go. So we really want to pay attention as we're close to that expected move, right? We're pretty damn close to it. Well, we want to pay attention if this has enough weakness to roll down, because in order for that to roll down, you're most likely going to have to cut out these levels, turn down like this, and that will be the look to pay attention to. But if we're going to see something crazy, look for that in the future, right? We're always just looking for the shorter time frames. As long as those weekly divergences really hold, we can pay attention to little 30-minute divergences at this level. But SPY giving it up right away. This could be profit taking early on in the morning as we did hit the weekly expected move. What we really need to see here is, does the 30-minute turn down into and able to get into negative territory? That's going to be a big deal. Thank you guys so much for being here today. Make sure to give a like to the channel if you're enjoying today's information. Remember, we're not trying to get super bearish. We're not trying to get super bullish. We're just playing the overall signals. That's why in yesterday's video, we were mentioning how this is positive, in positive territory, and you can test the high and go make a new one, and we made a new one. You got to be paying attention to that. Look for the most likely thing. Nope, baby girl is upset. Baby girl is not happy. Cool. And the good part is I play volatility. I do not short the SPY because I know funky things happen in the SPY, but volatility in the options data actually holding up pretty well. So actually, I kind of expected there to be a pretty decent downward push there, but not really, actually. Seeing a little spike here, able to curl up on a 30-minute. Remember, no real reversal in here. Maybe a little 15-minute rejection, maybe a 5-minute divergence that's getting you close to going, positive here. It probably is. There you go. You got the 5-minute divergence going positive. Very, very significant, really close to the center line. So the 30-minute is likely to roll up, and that actually is all taking place. So this does make sense at this point, and we'll see if that can head to higher levels. Andrew, thank you so much for subscribing today. Really do appreciate it. Everyone, welcome Andrew into the chat. Usually top when there is still good news coming out. Once it's obvious there is a bunch of bad news, it's too late. Market's kind of acting like July high as well. We can go look at that maybe for fun. Yeah, and a lot of people were calling this out. So you can pay attention to this, but just know a ton of people were circling this. A ton of people posting this to Twitter over the last couple of days, just saying this bar right here looks like we go higher and then we drop. And they might be right, but we do have that signal from volatility saying this could squeeze a little bit higher. Remember, we're not outside of a monthly expected move yet. We can go up to 593.83. Right? If we're going to see some kind of squeeze or something like that, 593.83, something to pay attention to. And then as you get closer to 600, that is likely we gravitate mentally. People do gravitate towards those whole numbers, and then that can hold as resistance there. We can look for a little 2-hour reversal maybe in this area. But this does look very, very similar. But is it going to be the same? Usually you'll see something a little bit different when they're this close together, I feel like. But is this like the most surefire thing to happen? Well, with the look we have now, you would say it's kind of likely if the 30-minute can rotate down and we start to see some bad earnings maybe going into tomorrow. Let's go look over it. Did TSM give up its gains? No, it did not. TSM is just crazy move to the upside. Never curled down in negative territory, but remember the technicals here can be thrown out the window. They probably just say, hey, look at those numbers are good. All right, stock go up. That's why I don't really play earnings too much, right? I didn't have any plays on TSM. But yesterday I was like, yeah, calls are probably the move. In my mind, I'm like, I was thinking about taking like a little YOLO call because everyone was betting that this thing would go down, and I just go, probably just take a YOLO call and this thing goes up. But not enough reasons to take the trade there for me to make that decision. Not going to beat myself up for that. All right, Ashley, I appreciate it. If I ever get it wrong, I'm not trying to offend you or anything like that, but I'm not the biggest pronouns guy, but I respect you for being here today. Really appreciate you being here. Most of the time, I just call you out by whatever name you have there in the chat, all right? All right, try to. But from London, very, very cool. A lot of my soccer teammates were from London, Liverpool. Had a few Scousers on my teams. What's Tesla expected move? Well, in order to get that, you'll have to join the Patreon, but I think it is outside of an expected move with that big, well, wait, when did this take place again? Friday. Yeah, you might be you're just sitting in the middle of the range. Looks like you have about a, what is that? you have about a 7% move up or 7% move down priced in for Tesla this week. So if you really want to know, 2, 3. Okay, so pretty much your weekly expected moves are one is in this zone and one is in just below this zone, just below our buy zone. So one's in a sell zone, one's sort of in a buy zone. But people do pay for that info, so I don't want to do them a disservice since they're giving their hard-earned money for some info. EA plus electricity bills. How in the world did electricity go up so bad? Anyone else notice this in California? I know that water is a big thing here right now, like water, and that's something that we don't really deal with too often. Oh, DJT has been pretty fun. Did that end up getting a little pullback here? Yeah, I want to pay attention to any time that 30-minute curls up, but now I need to pay attention to, because that looks like weakness, if that turns down. Well, that could be an ABC move first, right? We can see that could be an ABC move, but this could curl down some bigger time frame. So at this point, 2-hour looks like 2-hour pullback is the most likely scenario, waiting for that bigger momentum to turn up. You notice when a 2-hour turns up, good stuff, right? 2-hour turns up, good stuff. So you'd really like the 2-hour to turn up, and it was stronger in positive territory. That's a good thing to understand. But if this is going to pull down like this, maybe we go back into our buy zone even, right? What you could say here is big cup and handle, right? You could say big cup and handle. You went down to the key level here, big cup, big handle. Watch out if that drops down. You can drop down pretty low there. See if there's some kind of A, B, C move for this, but I'd just be looking for 2-hour curl ups. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, I wish I should have made a weekly range for TSM this week, but I know that it was pricing in about a 6% move up or down with the earnings. I think it was a little over 6%, like 6.5. Cool. Okay, utilities. Someone bringing up some utility bills, right? In California, well, your utilities might get a rejection here. That wouldn't be the best thing. What you kind of wanted was us to stop around these levels and maybe pull down for a moment, reconnect with those moving averages to then head higher for XLU. But I'm guessing you want your utilities to go down, right? So if that's going to happen, rejection can happen here. What you can do in a lot of these scenarios is just pull up a 4-hour. You see how that is very, very, very significant. The significance of this divergence brought you down like this. So it doesn't have to curl down. You could be in a whole new bullish sequence here. But for the most part, if that 4-hour does curl down, you're probably going to take out this low, probably going to go make a new one for this, as this is going to be the first move into negative territory. PCC will notice that it is opening up down at 0.77 as we are at a daily expected move. We were for the SPY, and you're noticing that the dollar is higher while the market is higher. That is all information that we want to pay attention to, because that is the rig behavior we're looking for. And oh God, I need to put the rig behavior video up on the course down there. So the using technical indicators course, we're going to try to explain a little bit more into why we pay attention to the dollar, why we pay attention to the SPY, why we pay attention to volatility and the PCC all at the same time, to see if there is some possible selling behind the curtain. I kind of like the fact that people are going to nuclear energy a little bit. I need to read more into it, but for the most part, I think that more energy options, maybe even domestically, would be a very good thing, right? You want energy to get cheaper, well, you need more production, you need more competition. And I know that individual companies are doing that, so maybe they would be able to make better price points on cars if they can cut down on what they have to pay to, produce the amount of energy they need to produce their vehicles. Maybe someone who could enlighten me a little bit on that. Yes, we are officially seeing the trap behavior in the shorter term now, and it's starting to be, it's in the macro scale. Now you see it on the shorter term intraday right now. So we'll see if that adds up to anything. How we know if that's going to add up to anything is just if this MACD is able to cross, then you are very likely to head down, right? Because what you really wanted to do was create good structure to head higher. The big gap up is great, but if you give it up, that's going to be bad. So right now, retesting the breakout, okay? But if you really wanted this to head higher healthy, right, we said multiple times, we want this to remain healthy the whole time, and we can continue to take these little swings to the upside. But as we gap higher, you really wanted to make that little handle right here, right? And then that can project you higher. But since we didn't do that, we might make that handle now. Some of the times, if you're still gonna be in this bullish trend for a little bit, you'll go make that handle now, fill this gap, then turn right back around. So we still need to see if this curls down, curls right back up, right? We always wanna react and be paying attention to what our signal is telling us is the most probable thing right now. Right now, this is telling you, hey, the most probable thing right now is upside, but we notice there's some rigged behavior here, so we have to pay attention if that 30-minute crosses down. That's not necessarily going to mean good things. That's going to mean that this 2-hour can possibly reject, form that next point of divergence that is more significant, but you do have it all the way across. Multiple point here, but you have it all the way across, and the main thing we were saying was the 4-hour. The 4-hour is what we're really going to want to pay attention to here, mainly on the Qs. I like the 4-hour for the Qs. Very, very flat across the whole top. Now, if you reject from here, ooh, that's not necessarily another divergence point. That's going to be a lower high on the 30 minutes. So let's pay attention. We're already at that weekly going or daily expected move going back inside of it. So we actually use the annual, the 2024 expected move upside as some support at this moment. Come on, Tesla. You're like, come on, Tesla. I don't know if you're talking about a pullback to the upside or downside, but either way, I'm rooting for you. All right, let me click through a few of these. Apple, Tesla, no. Amazon, no. Nvidia. I was leaning towards this options expiration. As we got further into the week, I'm like, options expiration could be a big deal. Weeklies here. Just trying to see if I want to set something up here. Now we're starting to break out, right? We're continuing to break out, getting into that overbought zone there. Now we are getting really, really close to testing that weekly expected move. We're pretty much right there for Nvidia, by the way, just so you're aware. A couple other ones to look at. AMD, seeing that reaction up. Remember, we were leaning towards that retest of 160.83. Meta, this one trying to curl up, kind of failing at this moment. Still maybe an opportunity to head higher there actually for Meta. It doesn't look like the biggest breakdown in the world. See if that 2-hour can curl up. That's more your confirmation, but you have already gotten pretty much almost a double top there. The lower point here, you would say that's where the big weakness comes in. Daily's already crossed for that one. Microsoft, not the best look in the world for a trade setup at this point, but Google trying to reject at this moment. Is the 2-hour close? Okay, 2-hour crosses down, bad things happen, and I think you continue the negative trend with the lower high. So think of like an ABC move. We can take out this low, head a little bit lower. Netflix, this is one that I was kind of bearish on. We mentioned this a couple days ago because big divergences here for Netflix. So that's something very interesting going on. You can see that the price action continued to go up on the daily scale while the MACD just pointed down, while the RSI gave very significant divergence. Triple divergence, fantastic. Let's see if that thing can curl down for a longer period of time. We are at the bottom of the Bollinger, so we can get reactions here in the shorter term. If that 30-minute does curl back up, we need to be paying attention to it. SMCI giving up the gains at this moment. Nvidia is not. And the Dow not looking as strong. The Dow getting to the point where you could still cup and handle. Right, you'd say this is where you want to get to. You'd say that's a cup. If that can remain strong, I would say not curl over this MACD would be the best case scenario, but if that can remain strong, kind of controlled, turn back up, you still might have a little bit more upside there. But if that curls down, looking like a double top here on the 30-minute. If that curls down, the 2-hour would give you that double top signal as well at this moment, maybe with a rejection. 2-hour divergence kind of across this on the MACD. Main signal still here is going to be weekly scale and daily scale as well. You have divergence all across this. Holding very, slightly going up, but multiple point with this high here. Still think weekly scale is the most important to see if we're going to see an actual bear market begin. I think the weekly scale turning down will signify that. All right, so let's just pay attention to the 30-minute here for the SPY. I think that's the most important thing to watch for the day. And as divergence is made with the closes, we want to see if this first 30-minute bar can close above these closing bars here. So above a price point of about 584.30, then we can start to talk about divergence for sure there. Let me just see what's going on out there. Back on this side of things. Uh-oh. And things really got to keep our eye on the Israel-Iran stuff still as well. I know it was good for oil that they said they're not going to attack the oil plants, oil refineries, I don't know. But for the most part, you want to say, okay, but whatever they do could be a bigger reaction. Let me just see, because something is trending now. I know Twitter's not the best, but it's still good to pay attention to it. No, nothing really on that scale that seems important. No big moves, it seems. IWM, this one posting divergence at the weekly expected move. We do give you the weekly expected move. You guys always have to remind me every week because I don't touch on it too much, but you do have IWM giving some divergence here at the weekly expected move for the 30 minutes, saying the 2-hour can pull down. The 2-hour pulling down still would be, you know, not the best divergence in the world, but it is that elongated across. So you really want to more so pay attention to if the 4-hour is curling down. That seems more significant, and that's the main signal I'd be paying attention to. But for now, you're going up to those highs, trying to test those levels. If the 2-hour does curl down, it does say potential weakness. 30-minute has already curled down above the weekly expected move. Interesting to be holding up, just so you're aware. This doesn't mean it has to, right? We're holding up above that right now. If we can keep consolidating and see that breakout moment, then upside is still the most potential thing. You are still in a positive trend. Gold was interesting. Gold showing 30-minute divergence up here, but able to curl up one more time. We'll see what happens with this going forward. You do still have that divergence point, but you keep curling up. Positivity continues. Whoa. Whoa, whoa, what's Nvidia doing? Why did that get so much more expensive? Oh, because it came down off there. Okay. Double top on NVIDIA now, that's something we're kind of discussing across the board and in the current price action. You have a time where you could have potential for double top on a macro scale and potential for double top on the 30-minute. So that is something key to pay attention to. One thing with the weekly is it is trying to curl up. That would state, hey, there might be a little bit more positivity. So we'll see if that can fade throughout the rest of our trading week. Sorry, that needs to be pulled over because we did get that breakout moment. Now we're testing the key levels, see if that can turn back down into negative territory there. The daily scale going to be important there if that curls down. Still holding the divergence across, not really showing on the MACD anymore. Could just be a pullback, right? We still want to keep our heads level, say this can always go higher. And if we take the right signals at the right times, just every once in a while, you'll see something a little crazier and make a little bit more money. That's all we want to take it for. I have to agree with you, Young. Yeah, you're right to call it out, guys. I mean, you're right, Jacqueline, saying that a lot of things are just overbought on almost every single time frame, and it's across the board on a lot of stocks. And then at the same time, you have only a few stocks really holding this out. I mean, really look at Microsoft. That thing's not going higher, but we're at all-time highs. Look at Google. That thing's not going higher, right? But we're at all-time highs. If you really zoom out on that, we're not there. So very interesting. One thing that's kind of at all-time highs that's starting to falter is NVIDIA, and that thing's falling fast before the earnings comes out. Did something get leaked there? Why is that happening? That's something I'm wondering at this moment. Mara obviously reacting to Bitcoin. Bitcoin, we showed that 2-hour divergence. Well, Mara has a 30-minute, and it just completed 30 minutes ago. So that's going to be key. Can the 2-hour cross down here? That's going to be a big deal. All right. Potential for a double top for Mara right here, but this does look like it's trying to cup and handle in its best, so we always want to pay attention if that 2-hour does rotate down. Can it curl back up? It's still in positive territory. Could get a flash crash. I think the one thing that I was leaning towards, and I was kind of using the Dow to do it on the daily scale here, was some kind of flash move down to 40K. Some kind of flash move down to this area where we kind of filled the gap, right? Something down into this area. That's what I think could happen. But I don't want to guess that can happen. I don't want to trade like that can happen. I just want to take good signals, and then if it happens, I'll make good money. That's all we're trying to do here. We're not trying to teach people how to catch crash moves and things like that. We just want to teach what good signals look like, and then at the same time, we can say every once in a while, you're going to see a good thing. A better thing happen. Like when volatility skyrocketed up and I sold out because I was up 400% or something like that. And then the next 2 days later, I think I was up 4,000. I would have been up 4,000, but I managed out of that because I was like, I don't know if this pops much higher. And it freaking did. So I could have got lucky with that one. That was unfortunate. That would have been a little bit life-changing for me if that would have happened. But we took that with both hands. We just noticed the daily divergence down by 12.12 started to scale in, just like we called the short squeeze here. That is potential to happen here, so you really do not want to turn down on volatility today. But great trade setup. That was UVXY that I used for that. I wish I made 4,000%. I can tell you that right now, but I'm going to be honest. I didn't. I just was a jerk to myself and looked at the option I bought a couple days later, and I was like, damn it. Happens, but still a good trade. That's the important part, right? VIX turning up. Pay attention if that 2-hour turns up. That's what I'm really looking for. I still think we do have potential for volatility to make some kind of double bottom, some kind of reaction up, reaction down, reaction back up, right? That's what I think, just because I have to think that way, just because of this being so far away from the center line, okay? I have to keep that in mind. Doesn't mean I can't take a play. It just means I have to keep that in mind. We do have 2-hour divergence that is trying to form here on the MACD. Not really the best on the RSI. You notice that it's not really the best on the RSI, but we do have it on the MACD that can say, hey, this can bounce from here if the 2-hour crosses up. So that's going to be the main thing I'm watching for extreme volatility come in. But yeah, you really think this is a bull trap? Yes, because of this. Because of this. I think that this is maybe even just the beginning of people running to cash. if it's not going to be, right, if this is not going to be the moment where this is a trap in some way, it's just how extended is the trap going to get, right? We keep extending the trap, extending the trap, extending the trap. And we've mentioned that multiple times while talking about rig behavior. You can see it on a weekly scale, right? We've said that. But usually when the weekly turns up, you start to see that trap unfold. If we're going to get into a bigger trap than that, then I think you're going to see the daily for volatility turn down. And that's going to be our hint like, hey, this might head higher, maybe even next week. So the only way that we can see if that is going to happen is if this daily turns down. And right now we're trying to hold up a little bit better, right? We're trying to hold that volatility up. We do have a slight reversal signal on the 30-minute for the SPY, which is why we're paying attention to volatility right now. If this does cross down, then I'm pretty much saying, yeah, that's a big trap. And if we can extend down and curl down the bigger time frames like a daily and then a weekly, then I'll be saying, yeah, we're probably in that bear market now. Gonna cancel my Netflix. I haven't had Netflix for years. Cost still holding up. Let's go look at that. That was pretty cool yesterday. Yeah, Anubis, just give me a moment here. Let me just look through some stuff real quick. Looks like we're consolidating for cost. Pay attention anytime that 30-minute rolls up. One thing to note about a lot of these that have short seller problems, remember costs pretty much tied into GME. Well, you want to pay attention because something, when the big moment happened, a 30-minute curled up and it never curled back down. So the fact that costs has curled down right here tells you that you're in a 30-minute pullback, but pay attention if that rotates back up. With these crazy ones that have short seller problems, you can pretty much pay attention even if it is near overbought territory if that 30-minute curls up, because you see this could be some kind of massive ABC pattern, right? And then you want to see, does that create a little divergence though? Does that fail at some point? That's when you say, okay, this thing might turn down on a 2-hour. Therefore, I shouldn't be thinking there's dramatic upside. Yo. All right, let me check on, let me help Anubis out real quick. Let's see if we have anything to see over on this one. Ooh. See if you have the right ticker. Is it NUE? Because it might be this guy. I know that people have asked about Nucor before. No 30-minute divergence, so there doesn't have to be weakness, just continuing that trend. Obviously, the 30-minute is overbought. We'd like consolidation before hopping into a trend. Very good structure, actually. Very good. I mean, even though it's on a 30-minute, it looks choppy. You see that line? Left, head, right shoulder, curled up, never curled back down, and we gap above the resistance. We like to see that. That's not a bad look. Okay? That's not a bad look. But I think you do have the opportunity to retest that level maybe, right? You are very high up, so maybe you curl down and then curl back up, but that's a great breakout. We overall want to look at the bigger things going on here. 2-hour was not able to confirm back down, confirming up, so that's all good. The daily just rolling right back up. So now you can start to pay attention, like, is this a good investment? Like once you start to add up that these timeframes look good, is this a good investment? It's in positive territory. You have a bunch of monthly divergence, so I'd be careful as you're hitting a key level like this. Be careful you don't bounce up and then create that right shoulder, okay? Because if you start to break through these levels, you can hold up a lot, but the main level is if you can get some selling in and get down to here, ooh, if you break that, you might head down into something like $57 very quick. You're talking about 100 points. There's just a lot of divergence up here on the monthly scale. We don't have to take that fully into consideration right away. It looks like we could get some kind of weekly bounce, right? So just on the weekly, you want to see, does this weekly give me a little daily divergence or something like that and create that structure to really break down? That's what I would say about this one. Let's go pop over the Dow again real quick here. Mainly paying attention to the shorter time frames today. Yes, so Kevin Hart was specifically called out by, I know it's like tinfoil hat, whatever. But I did watch the Cat Williams interviews, and those were just interesting. I just thought they were interesting, and he was specifically calling out Kevin Hart, saying a lot of the things that he said about his past just don't add up, and he pointed those out. And I was like, I'm gonna start not really watching too much Kevin Hart anymore. Something feels off about it now, even though I think he's so funny, but you don't even know if that person's funny. The way Cat Williams talked, it sounds like he's kind of fed everything. And this is just my personal thing. You know, my personal thing is I don't mess with anything that I think is in the spiritual world. So I try not to support people that I see enough to be like, it's better for me not to be involved with that. That's all I'm saying there. I hope he's not up to anything. I think he's a very funny individual. Personally, I think he's funny. But you don't like the fact that when Diddy gets caught, he immediately leaves. A lot of people deleting their Twitters. Very, very crazy stuff. And I started to watch that documentary too. But today we're mainly focusing on the stock market, but that is fun to point out. We gotta see, this can still take some time, right? This 30-minute has not crossed over yet. I thought Kevin Hart, I thought he was, what was the one that I thought was funny? Not really stand-up wise. But the one with him and The Rock, I thought that movie was pretty funny. Shut up, Jackal. All right, one thing to pay attention to too, housing market starting to suffer here. Remember, towards these highs going up to this level, you can still create something good here, right? If we look at the bigger time frames, we can see the daily scale. We can see how we're going up to resistance. If we can consolidate and break through, we're trying to cross up. The only problem with crossing up here is it is on a negative bar. We don't want to see that. We want positivity as we cross up. Another note here is utilities, actually. Remember that we said at all-time highs, utilities a lot of the time will make a divergence at the same time as the SPY. You now have a triple divergence as well as multiple point divergence for the SPY at the same time. So you do have multiple point divergence while XLU is making the divergence even in the shorter time frame. What you can pay attention to here is the 4-hour, right? See if that's able to rotate down. If it holds up, it still could be some kind of we got excited, let's make the handle now and then turn up, right? Still a positive trend, but if that rolls down, you see how close we are to negative territory. Housing inventories are going through the roof. And the bad part about that is also the hurricanes would cause a housing shortage even more. So people are trying to, I think the data I was looking at the other day was Texas. I do just randomly look at realtor.com and just look at the number of homes total that are kind of going up for sale. And I believe it was a lot of Texas. I think it was Texas was a big one. Florida was obviously big. And then it got hit by a hurricane, so you kind of maximize the damage there. So be careful with the housing market. That's going to be rough. Be careful. I know that I really like Nail. I really like Nail Home Builders here. 3 times leverage. I do like this one. But this is one to be careful with. It goes down really, really fast. Yeah, Jackal. Especially when they're not getting any kind of aid or anything like that. Big problem there. So you're thinking the year-end rally. I think we skipped the October thing to push stocks higher because this is just my thought here, thinking out loud is I think big people are scared that Trump's actually gonna clamp down on companies. You know, they're telling you that he's all for the billionaires and that kind of thing, but he's all for doing good for companies so that it's good for people is how I read into it. I do have a business degree and all that. I've studied it. My favorite teacher actually sold. He was a person who sold. He would analyze and then help sell businesses worth tens of millions, if not $100 million. So he was very good to learn from. And I think that for the most part, we're looking at a time where I think Trump might put us into a recession, but it's exactly what is good for the people. You want your groceries to get less expensive, right? Well, you need a deflationary event. So the stock market might go down and the media might tell you that everything's awful, but as long as you maybe have a job and you can make money that can afford groceries a little bit better, the economy, the stock market, and how the everyday person lives are in no way the same. They are not the same thing. In fact, usually they're like the opposite. At least the stock market and people, they're definitely opposite. Okay, let's see here. Okay, we'll look at this, Fardis, because you called me out. Wow, look at NVIDIA. I was going to get a position at around 140, but as I have learned from you, I trusted the MACD and RSI. Very, very good. And also, if you get those weekly expected moves, you know that 140, not a lot of room to the upside, right? Risk to reward a little bit, risk to reward. We can still head higher into the end of the week, right? As you get into the end of the week, it is a little bit more likely to end outside of those expected moves, obviously. But as you approach those levels, you just want to say, does this actually look like a good opportunity? Does it really? And then you just want to see, am I seeing a reversal signal that could hurt me? Let me maybe see if that reversal signal is going to play out. Maybe I'll see where that RSI is positioned. Maybe I'll see where that MACD is. Ooh, it's kind of at a level where it has a little divergence, kind of at a level where it has divergence, and it's overbought. So the opportunity was more around this strong green bar right here. And something I'm playing with, by the way, is this, which is this little blue line. I just made it because this is the 5-day moving average. It looks very blocky because it takes the close. But you'll notice as we get above that, we see resistance right here. We use it as resistance. We break through it, and now we react up. Very, very cool. So I'm going to play with that. Man, what you just said is why I watch your channel. We need a depression. Most people don't get that you can't keep higher inflation, and that's what will happen if you keep this current government in power. Exactly. And the main thing is, even if they get down to their 2%, the prices don't go down. You never went negative. That is something to understand. They're saying inflation is coming down. What they're not explaining to the average person is, yes, the rate at which it is increasing is coming down, but it is remaining higher. You have to have a deflationary event. You have to have something that will bring prices down. The good part, I think, about if we do go through deflation is also, Trump is talking about manufacturing, building manufacturing here, bringing companies back. That means jobs, and I really do like that. But yeah, Matthew, and I just try to say it how it is. And if I'm wrong about anything and you guys have more insight into something, please let me know. Like, say it in the chat. I am not someone who will blatantly be like, unless you say it like an a-hole, then I'll call you an a-hole. But if you just talk to me about it, I want to learn. I am someone who is a nerd deep down. Oh, and Scott, sorry, 15 minutes ago. Scott, thanks so much for subscribing. My bad. Netflix massive bearish rising wedge, making more profits, creating higher stock prices until, of course, it breaks consumers. Yes, that is why they are telling you that everything is good. And the way that they justify everything is good is corporations are still posting better revenues, which makes total sense. The reason that they're talking also about price gouging is because the natural reaction of a company when it starts to see inflation rising and potential for it to continue to rise into the future is they raise prices slightly higher than what inflation would have in store. So if inflation is supposedly up, say 10%, well, then next month they're going to say, well, that's going to be up another 10%. Let's raise it by 12% so that we can keep up with the inflation a little bit better. And then at the same time, the mistake companies make is taking on too much supply. So you'll see this a lot with furniture companies. You should wear a Trump hat. The only reason I don't wear Trump stuff anywhere is because I am getting further and further into firearms. I enjoy it as a hobby. I will use it for protection, but just in case there is something crazy going to happen or someone crazy sees me on the street wearing that stuff, I don't want my family to be in any kind of situation. Bonds really dropped off there. Weekly expected move. Remember this, great trade setup down, great trade setup here. Weekly expected move there. Very good trade setup though. I'm back. What up, Vital? Oh, Gevo. Okay, who was asked? A couple people asked about Gevo, right? Who else asked about this? EVO. Okay, I think we've looked at this before. Whoa! The hell's going on with this bad boy? Uh-oh. Whoa. Well, this is where you really want to pay attention to things that you can actually start to swing trade. right? I think that's very, very good to look at. When you see something, you might be like, oh, I'm nervous to take it here, but you keep it on your watch list. You're like, ah, it just lost the 200 again. Let me just keep it on my watch list. Guess what? It crosses up into positive territory and boom to the upside. And we kind of rode the 9 the entire way up, which is very, very nice. Very, very nice to ride that 9 all the way up. Now at these levels, I mean, technically, swing trading would say you can hold on to this, see if something crazy is happening, right? We do that in the course down in the description. It's saying you can hold on to it. But once you start to see something like this and you go, okay, now we might reconnect with those moving averages for a second, you might say, hey, maybe I'll take a little bit off the table, but also want to see if like monthly, okay, that's not a good look. Weekly turned up way over here. So that daily turned up in the same area the weekly turned up a long time ago. Very cool, running into a 200 on the weekly. But yeah, I like the look. What you'd look for here is like, if this is gonna see another upward move, you notice a 30 minutes gonna curl up. 30 minutes gonna curl up. A 30 minutes going to maybe curl up, even if you just move sideways. So you just gotta be a little patient, but that opportunity can still be there. Very good too, if you're seeing something get across the 200 pretty good, and you say, hey, I missed out on the initial move, put it on your watch list for a second. See if you get a pull back down to the 200 again. See if you cross up into positive territory. Good swing trade. Curl up for what? I actually have no idea why this curled up. No idea. Earnings is around the corner. That's all I got. I just like technicals. As you'll see, we'll probably see this too. If we start to crash down, you'll see big time frames turn down, and then 2 days later, they'll come out with a story. 1.46 billion DOE loan for sustainable aviation fuel plant. Cool. I dig it. That's what's up. And Loxley, one thing I can at least maybe ease you on that side of things is, weirdly enough, you might hear it differently in the media, but from my research, the events that have turned out to be the most violent are on the other side of things, being, I would say, like, you know, more lefties, not even saying Democrats, mainly just crazy lefties or something like that. But crazy righties come out, they can do it too, but I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. That's kind of how we'll think about it. I just want to look at stocks, you know? Yeah, exactly. Okay, so you are paying attention to IWM. IWM, that is correct. A little bit late to the move, just barely, but still pretty good price, probably. Yeah, we still don't want violence, guys. We'll never want violence. I still never want that, but we'll just see how it shapes up, guys. And then you just keep the ones close to you protected, and you're good to go. As we can see, the big thing here is IWM going to see a pullback, or is it going to see a big reversal down into negative territory? You are holding some points of divergence here, but a lot of the time you can see a reaction down to that 5. You notice that little blue line going up there? That is the 5-day moving average, by the way. That is the 5-day moving average. Okay, this is going to be the 5-day moving average on every single chart, not a 5 on a 2-hour. This is a 5-day moving average. Will you get rich on AMC in 1 year? I actually think if Trump gets in, I think you actually have more potential. And weirdly enough, I mean, if you look at Roaring Kitty's little emojis, the thing was a microphone, American flag, then a boom. Maybe the whole time he just meant the election. What's the Civil War play? Well, the Civil War play is probably shorts, because if you have a civil war, you're going to see disruption in every single kind of business. I mean, probably except for, well, even military, like supply production would be difficult. Let's just hope for the best, guys. Let's not even think about it. Let's not put it out in the air. Let's not even think about it, right? Let's be prepared in case it happens, but act like it's not going to for now. Oh gosh, island reversal. Let's see, these are fun to look at sometimes. First of all, you guys see the gap up, maybe 30-minute. So in order for it to be an island reversal, we might have to gap back down. Leave us on an island, you know what I'm saying? That's right, today's a too dippy kind of morning. So due to currency, it's holding. I see a pattern on a few stocks that are moving alongside the currency price movements. What currency and what stock? Maybe I could try to read into it. Oh, I feel you, Robert. But I've actually gotten into, you know, fights at bars. I have before. I've not too many, but one time I was really going to get into a big one, and I talked to my dad's friend who went to jail for that stuff a few times, and he was just like, look, man, you made the right decision. He goes, at the end of the day, if you get into an altercation, he's like, the best thing you can do is walk away because you could injure someone, get in trouble, even if they're coming after you. He's like, you just don't want to deal with it. And I was like, oh, okay. So now I kind of live by that. I try not to do anything. I just kind of just let everything be. Don't put myself in those situations. But USD MXN. So is MXN its own thing? For this here, 2-hour curling down, by the way. 2-hour, you do have 2-hour divergence, but you see how far away that is from the center line. Look for a pullback. Something like the gap fill is something I'd pay attention to. See if you lose the 5-day moving average. If you guys want to get this up, I can show you guys it later, how I got it. No, he just a gentleman went after my best friend who is a female. So I kind of went at him, and I was like, hold me back, bro. Hold me back. No, I'm not a tough guy or anything like that. I'm not trying to say that. I just had a moment where I was like, yeah, I don't like the way someone's talking to her. But super random. Why do we talk about these things? Because I have ADHD. Is that why? MXN, I wonder if it has its, like, you can just look, Mexican peso futures. Oh, well. Oh, yeah, I don't know. We'll have to read into it, but. And NF, we did talk about, if you go to the beginning, I talked about your question. Please go to IWM. Yeah, 30-minute divergence for IWM. We've talked about it a few times. Just so you're aware real quick, 2-hour curling down is the most likely scenario here. Still in an area where you can just be a pullback, but you want to pay attention because you want to see if the big time frame starts to turn down. But 30-minute divergence at the weekly expected move, most likely thing to happen here is, I would say, fill this gap, right? This would be a key level. We get some kind of bounce in this area. See that good structure, left, bad drawing, left, head, right shoulder. We love your ADHD. Keeps it entertaining, that's for sure. My wife does not. Hold on one sec. What was the one I was supposed to look at? I just forgot. Oh, SPY perspective for NF, just because it's good to repeat it. It's good to repeat it over and over. We want to pay attention if this is us getting excited and us making that handle a little bit late. And we curl back up, right? Does this 30-minute curl down is going to be a big sign there, because that means we'll maybe fill the gap and then start to turn back up. But if this can curl down and go negative, take out this low, you're starting to look like negative trend. And then you want to see if those bigger time frames are turning down. So we do have a reversal signal right now. We do have the dollar going higher while the market's going higher, and we have PCC sitting pretty low. It was very low this morning, 0.77. I can't tell you what exactly to do, but I can tell you that if you are asking those kinds of questions, it is good to pull up a monthly chart and say, do you think there is better opportunities out there than NVIDIA? Because this is going up and up and up and up and up for a very long time, has monthly divergence all the way across. So it tells me, as for an investment perspective, and even trading wise, it can be difficult to trade at these levels, and it's very difficult to short. So it just tells me, do I want to short this? Maybe not. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. If I see the right signals and I'm good at it, okay. But for the most part, just look at the chart. It does look like a monthly pullback would be necessary to head higher. And with the divergence all across the RSI, triple divergence, want to be a little cautious with that. That's what I would say. Gap fill for IWM, the one that I'm talking about, is down towards this little 30-minute here. You see where we really dip down right here? That exact level is about 223.10. 223.10, and you notice that that coincides with where we kind of built up, hit those high levels, right? So right in between here is that little level. How much can NVIDIA pull back on the monthly scale? I'm still leaning towards the time where I might invest, like from an investment perspective. I might invest in NVIDIA if it goes down to around somewhere between, I'd say, I think it was $40 to $60. In the shorter term, NVIDIA could just be pulling back, you know, to retest a key level to make some kind of handle, right? It still has that ability to do this. But if that curls down and starts to take out this level, you're going into a negative trend. Then you would say on the daily scale, where would we pull back to? Well, if this is some kind of trap, what if we give up all of this? You could get some kind of retest. So first zone I'd probably pay attention to on the daily scale is 125, right? That level's been very important, but our little zone in here towards 120. What time of day do I do my calculations, NF? Is that what you're asking for the expected moves? Jesus, who is texting me a bunch? I gotta make sure this isn't my SHTF person. 2 seconds. Okay. No. It was him, but nothing bad. What time do I buy or sell portfolio? Usually at the end of the day, one day when I see signals confirm. As far as investments go, I like to see till end of day. As far as investments goes, trading I can do at any time. If it's a bigger time frame, like a daily, I'm gonna wait till end of the day a lot of the time. So, all right, let me go back over to the SPY. Just make sure on the 30-minute that this is, geez, who is texting me over and over and over again? It's nothing important, I can tell you that right now. At least from what I read so far. Maybe this text is more important, you know what I'm saying? We'll see. Apple, not the best buying thing here. Weekly expected move test again, isn't it? Jesus, guys, stop. I gotta turn my vibration off. I'm sorry if that's ruining your ears a little bit. Apple reacting back up to a weekly expected move. They are very useful, guys. Join the Patreon while you can. Well, you'll always be able to. I don't know why I said it like that. But yeah, this reacted up to that weekly expected move. Got outside of it, reacted up to it. Got to see if this can curl back down, though. That is green, trying to go positive. So that would say positivity can take place. Just a little bit controlled in here. So that crosses down. I'm a little bit worried for Apple. See if we can break down a little bit. You notice that we're holding that 5. Where did we react to? The 5. That's why I'm kind of playing with this on my chart. This is a 5-day. That's where the 5-day is, not a 5 on the 30-minute. It's a 5-day, and notice we get there, we hold above it. If we lose that, then it starts to be something a little different. And just like that, we are trying to hold up a little bit better. Some people going a little bit more towards the put side here. We'll see what adds up to that dollar. Another move here for the dollar. But IWM, the first to really fall here. Sometimes small caps do lead us. I would say the Dow has been leading a little bit too. Not really on this last, actually a little bit on this last push, right? It curled up before everything else. It's curling down. Tesla trying to curl down. Notice what do? We go sideways until we get to that 5. Now watch out because we can see some downside with that. If a 2 hour curls up, that's still very curvy. You don't really like it when it's like this curvy, very, very sideways, but for the most part, you could probably look at it on an hourly. It looks a little less wonky. But that's what you do. When you see a big drop, you kind of move sideways, look at the reaction from the 5, you cross down on an hourly, you're going to end up down towards 210 most likely here for Tesla. But you can go as low as 203, I think. It was on 30-minute crossed up. See if that bad boy crosses back down. That would be a reaction, a necessary reaction. TLT just dropping off. Oh, you're still in positive territory, so I can be patient, see if this 30-minute can curl back up. This was a great options trade. This, you buy that, you know, month out option, see that daily or that weekly expected move touched. Then you go, okay, cool, I'm gonna take some profit, leave some runners. Okay, now I need to manage the trade. Actually, you probably manage the rest of it right here. Just to say, hey, it's at that weekly move. This was just a good trade setup. Now we're going to go through consolidation. And then you say, oh, that's a big drop. So I like that from TLT. TLT was my most profitable option trade I've ever had was with TLT. Yeah, 600, very important level. You are correct to point that out. And the trap could still form even further. So you want to pay attention. If this is going to be some kind of handle, then I think you do make it to 600. Or I guess, well, 6,000 for the SPX, right? So, yeah, I'm not combating you at all, SR. I just want to be aware that there are rigged behavior happening now. Yo, so you think it extends just a little bit more? I think that's possible. We just have to realize we're in a trap and we have to look for the signals we see when those can turn down. Tom, I'll go look at that for you real quick. Robinhood had some interesting news. I think they just came out with a charting platform, if I'm not mistaken. Let me look that up real quick before we get into it. But yeah, 30-minute triple divergence here, not a good thing with a double top too. So nope, not what I want. I don't want to go to their actual website. Robinhood Legend. That's what it's called. Let's see what this looks like. Whoa. The journey begins. Yo, do I need to give this a try? It looks kind of sick. You guys want to see a picture of it? That's sick. Interesting. I don't know if I trust it. Sometimes their data is really off. It looks cool, but sometimes their data is really off. So with this, the opportunity was right here. This is the opportunity, 2690-ish, and then you want to see if that 2 hours rolling down. Already did, but that good confirmation with that next move is great. You actually have a divergence on the R side at the same time, meaning this could be a bigger pullback, and you're losing that 5-day moving average. It's nice to be able to see the 5-day on shorter time frames. That's what I'm kind of playing with. That's this blue, you know, kind of staggered line. Hi, WM. Did I miss the down move? You missed like the best value, I would say, opportunity value here to take a chance with it. You don't want to say like, hey, I missed out on the move, because what's happening right now, like this is just crossing down on the RSI. We're not negative yet. We always can see another curl up, but has the 2 hour crossed yet? No. So if you're really thinking, hey, this means there's going to be a 2 hour pullback, well, then you'd say this 2 hour hasn't even crossed over. So you're still paying attention. I don't think you're like terribly late, but at the same time, you want to see like, hey, maybe I'm seeing like a 5-minute bounce or something like that. And then I want to see if that rejects, because we do have the 5 right below you. So we'll see if that can, you know, build back up. I think you're looking for that cup to complete, and then you'll get that handle, which happens to be where that 5 is kind of right around this level. So maybe this type of thing does happen. And then you also see that as well. So it's nice when multiple things are adding up. January to March, yeah, this is what it can leak into, but I think you need the Qs to pass that high. I think you need the Qs. You do have a 5-minute that is losing the 5-day for the Qs, but and the 30-minute, all that stuff. We're starting to lose the 5-day, but for the most part, if we get above this high, then yeah, I think that springtime it will be interesting. But if we start to solidify these bigger time frame things, you know, weekly signal, daily signal, starting to add up to, oof, like daily says good probability, weekly says, yeah, great probability that this is heading down. My opinion, 6,000 is insane, guys. My basket of boomer stocks is more expensive than ever pre-cash bubble in the past, than being higher. Yeah, he more so talking about 600 because it's like a psychological level, Steve. A lot of the time, once you get towards those levels of like when we were at 490 and we probably saw a pullback, people were like, oh, this is going to crash down. And then we go to 500 first and then we see something there. But we do gravitate towards those whole numbers. We're not saying that has to happen. We're just kind of looking at how that would happen. I think it would happen if actually the SPY was able to base out and curl up here with some kind of handle. We just got a little excited, so maybe we're going to make that handle right now. AI is real. That's an interesting statement. Artificial intelligence is real. Kind of an interesting thing to put together, isn't it? Are you saying like there's a market for it? Yeah, it's very good, Jackal. That's something that I started to do just a little bit, like just a few years ago. I started to do that, especially it was when we were in a bear market, actually. That's when I really started to think about it. Artificial food is real food. Doritos are real food. Are they? Are they? Or are they giving a bunch of people cancer? The show does this wild and predicts that AI will be able to increasingly predict future events through quantum computing. That would be so cool. That would be so cool. With AI NPCs that like react to how you're doing things in the game. God, dude. Ah, man. Artificial intelligence is real, said my Roomba. Hey, artificial intelligence in Roomba is able to pick up that dirt, homie. All right, let's just see if things curled down. Then we can read into it more, but for now, still remaining bullish. Nothing to worry about just yet. Volatility still at lower levels. Maybe we may need to make a 30-minute divergence. More when the 2-hour curls up. MC Chair CEO way emphasize that AI demand. AI demand is real. So yeah, that's more what I thought you were saying, but it was just funny. The phrasing of it was funny. I can see how the demand is real. I just think it causes a big jobs problem and a big consumer problem. You'd have to see a lot of people get into maintenance of AI jobs. That would have to be the new, like, most popular job, I think. Or else it's just going to be, hey, we can fire everyone, we don't have to pay anyone anything, and now the elite guy gets to make everything instead of paying anyone. That's why I think it could backfire a little bit if we did that. But that's just how I see it. Yeah, it's like if AI could predict future events, wouldn't it say AI is going to replace everyone's job, and then who's going to buy products? And then you, unless you go into a utopia, which would more likely, you know, humans are too flawed to do a utopia. You'd get communism before anything, or fascism, something. That's just a random thing to say, but that's just how I think about it. I'm like, well, if there's no one to buy products, and are we really thinking that government officials and people controlling government officials are going to be nice? Rug pool, probably some dark pool activity. Maybe we should look for that. Ah, damn it. What? What? My caps lock on? No. Damn it. My password for this? Okay. Try to look at some dark pool stuff for you guys, but damn, I got my password. I know they have like some long password. Alright, how do I do this stuff? Ooh. I don't know if I like this chart I'm seeing necessarily, but... Let's see. Yeah, consumer cyclical going pretty high up, financials going pretty high up, and technology all going high up. SPY. I don't give a shit what the chart is. I want to see the... Oh, that's a market dashboard. I'm in the wrong area. $1 billion in call. Look at NVIDIA. Will let us. Top call contracts, 170. Interesting. I'll look into that, see if there's anything I can see as important there. I'm going to keep that up. Hey, thanks, man. Thanks, Chris. Well, he might not be a man, I guess. Chris is KRIS. Are we screwed on GME again? I would say this 30-minute divergence is something to read into. It's not really on the RSI at the same time. Chris is a dude? That dude, Chris? Hey, you never know these days. I don't care which way you're swinging. No, but thank you for saying that, Chris. Really appreciate it. Oh, I couldn't read dude at first. Because my my camera's charging. My phone's charging there. So cut that out. He's the dude. He's that dude. You know what I'm talking about? White line SMA, that's going to be a 200. The blue snaggery line is a 5-day, just so you're aware. Yeah. Sometimes my I have to look around. That's why you'll see me go like this sometimes. Got to look around that cord. I like to keep it charged. Yeah, that bar looks a lot worse on a 2-hour. Yellow is the 20, that's an EMA. So I have a 20 EMA, I have the 200 SMA, I have the 50 SMA, and I have a 9 SMA. And then I am using a 5 SMA for this blue little line. 5 SMA, that's a daily on every chart. So we still have potential as we are above the 5. That's still a good sign that we could react down to it. And that's where I want that handle to show up. And I don't want us to cross through that, right? I don't want us to do this. If we build back up, that's still good, right? But I don't want us to do this, then use it as resistance and start to go the other direction. You know what I'm talking about? Oh, the big yellow ones, those are monthly expected moves. Yeah, so and maybe we need to put a little color coder on the screen sometimes, but the monthly is going to be in yellow, weekly is always in purple, and the red is the daily. Sorry about that. Just make sure we're not crossing out. Getting back into the annual expected move, that is the thicker red one. That is the as high up as the options market saw us going for 2024. And look where we run into problems right as we get above that in 2024. All right, I gotta do that. Oh. Surprising that IWM. Well, I guess, I mean, it does make sense because the yields are starting to rise a little bit there and IWM starting to suffer. That does make sense. See how there could be like a little 5-minute bounce or something? Because if you look at the short stuff, you'd say a little cup and handle here can go a long way, right? Tiny little cup and handle. Whoop, 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 whoop. That would make a lot of sense. We'll see. Yeah, so SPY could go all the way up, right? SPY could end up going all the way up to 593.83, and it would make sense. All right, that's why we don't want to say like, oh, something's absolutely crazy, is psycho is happening. Yes, we have the signals on the bigger time frames that could say if they confirm that something crazy can happen, right? Very high probability. Sorry, my head was starting to hurt. I'm hitting that little ball. But it can also go as low as 553.69 by the end of the month, right? It's a two-way street. There's a way up, there's a way down. If you're looking at stocks, I still like to do my analysis on SMH, just look for the opposite. Right now you're seeing it curl up. More so want to pay attention to daily, see if that's confirming down, because you see the major resistance coming in here, maybe getting a lower high at some point. Then you want to go into it and be like, is there weakness between these highs, right? Is there weakness? Sometimes a 2-hour, a 4-hour can help you out. 4-hour, not really the best divergences here for SMH. 2-hour, if we see that, you do notice a little bit better on the 2-hour, I would say. barely coming above it here though. So we could just do this and then create that little signal here that then tells you, okay, that's the better opportunity. But yeah, it's possible. I think you're more so just paying attention to that, like, looks good anymore, I guess. Well, and TSM now, but more so want to just see, does this 30-minute divergence complete? That's going to be a big deal. But we're holding up pretty well. Oh, I left that on there too long. That little thing on your hat was just driving into my skull for way too long. It started giving me a headache. 200 people in the chat today. Thank you guys for showing up today. Really appreciate it. Thank you guys for being here. Main thing to just watch here, this is the significant divergence. That's why I'm paying attention to it. I still think you do have that opportunity to do that, right? We're still positive in positive territory, but we have tested the high, made a new one. Now we start to fall at that daily expected move. So let's just see. Now we just play the little waiting game, see if some little crossover happens, take maybe a chance with it on my end, and then we'll see, hey, do I need to manage that trade? One reason I wear a cap inside is because I have a big light right here, and sometimes it gets annoying and I do this. The other reason is because my baby girl, sometimes the only time that baby mama is able to shower is in the morning, and so I try to watch her. So some days I do not get to shower first thing in the morning, which is okay, because usually I go to the gym after my stream, and then I shower, and then I come back and I look at stocks just to give myself a little break, you know? I just don't want you guys to see my greasy hair. You have hair, enjoy it. Now we all know that Dawson is bald. It's okay. Go get a Trump wig. They're terrible. They fly off at the first gust of wind, but yeah. See here, the IWM, now we want to see if that 2-hour can confirm down. I think you have a 5-minute handle, looks possible. All right, what are people talking about? Let's go look what Bloomberg's talking about. Let's look at the sentiment for today. See what they're telling you guys to do. Okay, let's see. All right, so something they're trying to say is bullish. Jobless claims falls by most in 3 months. One bullish thing they're trying to say, right? Chip stocks rally after TSMC's AI boosted outlook. That's another bullish thing. Big central banks are now firmly in rate cut mode. Hey, Jackal, thank you so much for the $10 in the chat. Grab a beer or a cocktail on me. Trading is a lonely game. Just found your channel and share a lot of your thoughts. I am also bald. Well, I only have one kid, okay? I got to catch up to you, and then maybe I'll start to lose some hair. But thank you so much for the $10. I appreciate you being here, Jackal. And you've only been here a couple of days, so thank you so much. Awesome. I'm glad you found a little place where we like to just look at charts, and sometimes my ADHD kicks in and we talk about some random stuff. Dude, what is it like? I have 3 kids. My friend's friend, not really, I guess he's becoming my friend. Sometimes we chat together in the same little group, but he has 8 kids. Daily looking bullish, just maybe just a medium time frame. Double top. Like 8 kids, you gotta be kidding me. Okay, so gold miners. Yeah, gold miners. Yeah, it looks like you have potential for something to reverse around. Gold could act a little differently. You can still just do maybe some analysis on GLD or futures if you wanted to. Not the best looking divergences here, so it looks like we're just getting pretty bullish here. Any pullback can lead to more upside. That's what you'd overall say. If you're going to see something turn around, I assume it would be this 2-hour has to curl down, which it really doesn't look like it's going to at this point, but gold's been acting choppy sometimes, right? Gap down, gap up, go down, gap up, gap up, gap down. Yeah, you know, so it's a little choppy. More so just want to see bigger time frames. What's happening? Does that daily curl up? Okay, we can see positivity continuing for a few days, right? Why do I feel like my lines aren't on? Okay, they just popped up. So yeah, one of the swing trade things here is like early, you could say, okay, this is kind of a swing trade signal, but it's like, does this have much time left? You see, does it have much time left on the daily scale? Maybe not. So maybe read into the fact that you're seeing some shorter time frame stuff and say if that 2-hour turns down, we can experience some weakness. If it retests and turns back up, that's more the swing opportunity, right? 2-hour crosses up. Notice we gap above the 5, hold above the 5, hold above our moving averages on the shorter time. It looks decent. I have 6. Geez, Christopher. Christopher is just too sexy. His wife's like, he's too sassy. Too sassy. But congratulations everyone with kids out there. Feel free to give me advice at any time. One thing today, guys, I do have to hop off pretty much right now. Yesterday I went a little bit later than I expected, so I do have to hop off. We have a lot of stuff to get through today. I do want to thank you guys very much though for being here. I think it's awesome that you guys are willing to come in and chat with me about some random stocks, just a random guy who wants to try to be a little bit helpful. So thank you guys so much for joining. If you guys want to learn all that good stuff is down there in the description. I don't have to label it off or anything like that. You guys are great about liking, subscribing. So had a lot of fun today, and I think we're going to continue to have fun. Let's just pay attention to the signals and pay attention to if the SPY is going to confirm, can this be a cup and handle, or can this curl down and go into negative territory and start something awful? That's something I'm paying attention to at this moment. But if I see anything interesting, I will be posting that to Patreon, and if we see something crazy, turn on those notifications because I might hop on another live video. I haven't had to do it yet this week. I've been kind of ready to, right? Trying to position myself to be ready to at the end of the day, but yeah, so I will hop on if I see some crazy stuff and if we see this stuff curl over. So thank you guys for joining us today. Have a great rest of your day. Manage risk, trade like water. That's the best thing you can do, and you'll be better than 90% of traders out there, all right? Peace out.